Welcome to the podcast portion of my final assessment for Psychology 305, Social Psychology. For my research project, I chose to offer a critical analysis of several different academic sources which explore the topic of prejudice and racism during wartime in the United States. This topic is very relevant as the U.S. has a long history of both war and prejudice, starting with slavery, of course, and then what my project focuses on is the more recent events and the wars that have happened since World War II. So in today's world, there's a lot of different information out there about culture and society, which makes it difficult to tell if we're getting more or less prejudiced as a society in America. So I tried to find sources that took a unique perspective on this issue and gave it a more understandable view. So my first source is a paper by a group of psychologists who did a survey in which they asked college students about their feelings about Arab Americans. And this survey took place in 2012, so not too long ago. And they found that most of the individuals who reported prejudice in the survey also reported not being prejudiced. So it was their subconscious or unconscious prejudice that the survey picked up on. And the authors of the survey allude to other groups besides Arab Americans, specifically relating to the Japanese American internment of World War II. So I did a little more research into that topic, and I found that the Asian American or Japanese American internment was a serious in-group prejudice event that happened in American history, and it still has lasting repercussions to this day, with many of the second and third generation of families who were interned now taking up social causes, including advocating for more open borders and the fair treatment of all immigrants and people of foreign origin in the U.S. So I used two sources relating to the Japanese internment. One of them was an article that was published about a group of American soldiers who were highly decorated during World War II, but when they returned back to the U.S., they didn't receive their fair welcome. They were still treated as second-class citizens despite their heroism, because of their being of Japanese descent. And the second article, or the second source I used, was a website called densho.org, which was created in 1996 to help maintain an oral history of the people who were interned in the various camps around the United States, by recording interviews with survivors and then compiling them and making them available to historians and also to people like me who are just doing general research. So finally, I used another source that was about the sort of American cultural reach, the way that we interact with the world, and that interaction has lasting impacts and creates consequences for not just us within the United States, but also for people living in places all across the globe. So, for example, in my article, my paper, I quoted a former general who has become an advocate and an author, and he says that American society is inextricably intertwined and interdependent. Our well-being and security are directly or indirectly affected by the instability this changing global environment generates. So he is talking about or talking about the perspective of war and being an officer and a foreign policy maker and diplomat. But also on the religious side, there are a huge amount of Pentecostal Christian sort of Zionists in Korea who have become advocates for the global spread of Christianity, and the formation of this congregation is a American movement which was started in the early 1900s. So that's another way which we've spread our influence for social and ethical purposes around the world. So I did conduct an interview which I submitted earlier in the semester, with my friend, history student named Noah Allen, and I listened to it again and I found one section which I thought was relevant to my completed project, so I'll play that now.
Sure. Well, the first wave of Vietnamese refugees was mostly Vietnamese people who had worked with the U.S. government, and so that included politicians, the former president of South Vietnam, even. soldiers who received training from the U.S. And so those were the people that were in the direct line of fire. Some of them probably would have been put to death after the North took the South in 75. And even for the ones that probably didn't face death, they were set to be put in re-education camps, which were, well, what they sound like, pretty much brutal camps to kind of, quote unquote, re-educate people who had been learning from the Americans, or before that, the French. So,
So Noah was working on a history paper for one of his classes that was related to, I thought it was related to my topic because, of course, the Vietnam War is one of the most controversial conflicts in U.S. history, and the the social and bias related repercussions of that tied in well with my research. So I was interested to hear from him, and I appreciated the having the opportunity to research this topic, and I'd like to continue on with it in the future. So thank you, and thank you for a great semester. Signing off.